Welcome to Cosmic Communion.
I don't know if you know much. Do you know about any of the codon stuff? Okay, so what's the seven sacred seals from your...
My understanding of the seven sacred seals is like the path of initiation.
Okay, that was kind of my idea that I was reading, like very brief overview. The ring of purification is the beginning of that process, which is 13 and 30, which are both in Aquarius. So every person, like what this was saying is that to enter the initiation of the seven sacred seals is to move through the shadow of the 13th and the 30th gene key. And that's like for humanity, for each and every person. So I think that's interesting. We'll see if that feels maybe it'll like just feel relevant to how we open it up somehow.
Well, it makes me, the first thing that comes to mind is like everything that kind of has happened since 2020 and how it feels like this initiation that humanity's going through right now, which started in 2020, 7 years before 2027, right? 1 7-year cycle before we move into the cross of the sleeping phoenix. And now with the rise of AI, yeah, did you not put that together?
Holy shit.
Yeah, I know. We should do a whole other episode on that. But yeah, we're in the final mutative 7-year cycle before the cross of the sleeping phoenix.
Holy shit.
Mm-hmm. Is 13 your design Saturn too?
Yes, I just looked. It's my.
It is.
So I have 13.6 and 13.4.
And so your personality moon.
Personality moon. Yeah.
And design Saturn.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
This is interesting also because for both of us with 19 and now with 13, Sun is moving over our Saturns.
Yeah.
And that feels really, that checks out.
That checks.
That checks
That's
out.
correct.
The number of times I've said discipline in the last 48 hours. And honestly, I feel like this week, I'm finally I've integrated my lessons from Saturn return. That's what it feels like.
It's like wrapping it up.
It feels like now I'm able to access the level of discernment and discipline and structure that I cultivated through the Saturn return. Now I'm able to apply that in my life and benefit from it.
Yeah.
Whereas there was still this kind of rebelling against the discipline thing, because my whole life I've been so disciplined. That's just been such a big theme in my life. Saturn squares my whole Scorpio stellium. But now I'm reclaiming it. I actually know how to create structure, and I can be incredibly disciplined when it comes to something that I love and something that I'm passionate about. And in reclaiming this part of myself, I'm feeling all of my powers ready to come through now because there's a container for it.
Yeah, it's channeled. The structure is holding it and channeling it. It's and one thing that I was thinking while I was listening to you say that is rebellion is your discipline now. Before you were rebelling against discipline, and now this more elevated expression of the rebellious Aquarian, which is no, I will be my absolute self, nothing else. That's Aquarius's rebellion. And that's your discipline. It's your structure. It is mine too.
Mm-hmm.
It was both of ours. Wow.
Yeah, think about that, what it means to have Saturn in Aquarius. And I think this is an important and relevant conversation because I think a lot of people listening are part of our kind of Saturn graduating class.
Yeah. We all just went through it.
Yeah. And our Saturn returns, bringing it back to 2020, right? It started in 2020. I remember listening to a lot of different astrological things when we had the Great Conjunction, Saturn and Jupiter coming together at 0 degrees of Aquarius, which don't quote me on this, but
Quoting you
the
right now.
last time that happened was when Jesus was here.
So basically, we're Jesus.
But they call it the Christmas star.
What?
Even my like former mother-in-law, who, you know, is like not at all into any of this, even she was talking about it because it was in the news. Yeah, that like this yeah.
What?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
actually, we should loop back around to this conversation with Allison sometime because she's gonna have those first line details for the peeps.
Yeah.
But okay, so I decided to do some fact checking on this correlation between the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn at 0 degrees of Aquarius on December 21st, 2020, which was also the winter solstice of 2020, and the correlation between that event and the birth of Jesus. And so I was able to find a little bit of information on it. According to this, Dr. Safrir, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, she says, I quote, "Some say the Star of Bethlehem was a phenomenon created by a meeting of Jupiter and Saturn, which according to the Nativity story in the New Testament heralded the birth of Jesus. Just as BC and AD demarcate a turning point, a before and an after, I believe that this bright and powerful rendezvous of Jupiter and Saturn will also prove to be a threshold moment for humanity. BC could now also come to be known as before COVID, since the pandemic irrevocably changed our world. For the past 200 years, Jupiter and Saturn have been meeting every 20 years in zodiac signs associated with the Earth element, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. And as of this great conjunction in 2020, for the next 200 years, these two planets will meet up in the signs associated with the air element, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Thus, their meeting on the solstice at 0 degrees of Aquarius marks the end of one long cycle and the beginning of a new cycle characterized by a different archetypal quality and theme. We're witnessing the hard labor as a new world struggles to be born while simultaneously we are in the midst of a dying process and the world as we knew it is disappearing. And the other thing that's fascinating for those of us who do have Saturn in Aquarius and experienced our Saturn return during COVID is that Saturn first entered Aquarius between March and July of 2020, and then it went back into Capricorn and then moved back into Aquarius December 16th of 2020. So literally just days before the Great Conjunction, days before the winter solstice of 2020, the Saturn and Aquarius class like officially really entered their Saturn return, but we got a taste of it literally starting in March 2020 when the pandemic started. So I just wanted to provide a little bit more information and do some fact checking on that because I do feel like this period of time was such a pivotal moment. I do feel that those of us who have Saturn in Aquarius have this interesting connection or relationship to Pluto in Aquarius. Pluto now has moved into the sign where we have Saturn. So anyways, just something I found interesting. Now back to my conversation with Cody.
And we're like, I don't know, I read it once.
But I keep coming back around to like podcasts that I listened to about the Great Conjunction because that was like literally within a week of the Great Conjunction was when I first heard about human design. Within a week of that. That was the beginning of my spiritual awakening. And it came on so fast. I didn't know anything about any of this Instagram world, spirituality, nothing. I didn't know about Lacey Phillips. I didn't know about any of these people.
What?
December 2020. Like, I was just in regular, like, Matrix land.
Wait, I'm sorry. What?
Yeah.
That's actually kind of fucking blowing my mind right now because when you've always known all of these things.
Right.
You've always remembered. Like, just even like the way that we talked like the first time we met, and like what was that? Was it the summer of 21 or 22?
I think it was
It might have been
22.
22. It was 22. And I was like, damn, this bitch knows so much. I was like, holy shit. Wow.
And at that
Did not know
point,
that.
I was like 1 year into my human design experiment.
Dude,
That's
that
why
too
when I went
really
to the
is so fucking
HDHD
natural.
conference and I was like seeing everything so clearly, and all of these fools who are 7+ years in,
Yeah.
I'm like, guys, I literally learned about this shit like 6 months ago. Like,
Yeah.
come on. How does nobody see this?
And that's the beauty of the beginner. That right there is the beauty of the beginner, is that somebody can come in and have just really a natural knack for a language and just take to it and speak it, and then be like, what are you guys all fumbling around with? Like, what the fuck? Because you're new to it. So you see, like, you're just like excited and like you want to apply it, instead of like, oh, this group over here told me this is how I'm going to use it. No, you're just like, nope, I've been applying it to my life. What are you talking about? This is stupidness.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, this is,
And
I
like,
swear to God, you tell me something shocking about your life story every time
this is why we need a podcast,
this is why we have a podcast.
right?
That's exactly
like,
right. This is it.
Because we have our lives are incredible content.
Yes.
This is the alchemizing the lead of our life into gold,
This is
right?
it. This is it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I would love to actually get into more of that story on another podcast, because I think the way that I came into human design was very different, in that I was immediately surrounded by other people who were learning the language. And so it was like we were learning and applying it simultaneously. It didn't stay in the mental space very long.
Yeah.
And so I've had so many people say like, oh my God, how did you just learn about this? Like your reaction, like so many people have said that to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how did you get to where you were?
Actually, I don't know why I was just shocked. That makes sense. Like, I was just performing right there. Anyway.
Yeah. But anyways, I didn't learn human design anyways. It just downloaded into my cells one night in the burbs of Dallas, Texas.
So weird.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
that's
really,
literally how it happened. Yeah.
And I was like majorly like, I wasn't into any other spiritual stuff at that time.
That's like, that goes to kind of show you, we don't get to decide when it happens, because it was the summer I met you, and I had been consuming human design for 4 years at that point. And that summer, something, maybe meeting people along your fractal really helps connect you to your consciousness. And I remember I like got a hold, you gave me the mega file.
Yes.
And it just all went, and I was like,
I gave mega file?
You file. And I was like,
Queen of distributing the resources.
What in the hell? This is actually blowing my mind tonight. You gave me the fucking mega file, and it changed my life. Like, it literally just went, and then like all of the color theory like downloaded, all of my questions downloaded too. Like, why the fuck have I been thinking about it in this way? Like, I was just like, I had that same energy as you. Like, come on, guys. Like,
yeah,
come on. Wow. So
just what you just said, and I think this is actually related to Gate 13, is when we meet our fractal, it connects us to a piece of our consciousness.
Yes.
It's a remembering. When we meet our fractal, we remember.
Yes. I would love to read the heavenly bodies.
Please.
So this month in heavenly bodies, we looked at gate 13, which is the gate of the listener, right? Traditionally?
Yes.
Traditionally in human design, this is the gate of the listener or fellowship of man. And in heavenly bodies, it is the remembering of individual purpose and being that is interconnected to all other beings through fractal consciousness.
Oh my God.
Where did I pull that shit out of? That one
Straight
was
from
my
source,
favorite when
baby.
I eat source for breakfast. I'm still gonna make
But
that
actual source.
but actual source. I'm still gonna make that like a t-shirt or a hat someday. If you're listening to this podcast, please message me or Sarah if you would like to purchase our merch. But that part about fractal consciousness and this so much being about like the G center and that like love, direction, and purpose is found along your fractal with other people. Like we are not doing it alone. And just like we were talking about, I hope we keep that cut in here somehow about how this whole world within me connected more fully. Like in meeting you, I connected to a layer of fractal consciousness that poured, what's the word? Consciousness into me. Like a new level of awareness came into me, and this isn't something that is mental. Oh, I'm going to download it. I'm going to be this now. It's, yeah.
I love that this conversation is going this way. And it does feel relevant to kind of weave in just a little bit of my backstory, because I think this is really speaking to like what we're doing in heavenly bodies is like, okay, what do we actually need to learn with our minds? And then how else can we like play with this information so it becomes embodied into our consciousness? So it, right, how do we, because really all of this is about is just expanding consciousness, right?
Yes.
And so these tools help us identify the way the blocks essentially that we have to consciousness.
Yeah.
But so I found a projector told me about human design in December 2020. I immediately got the definitive book of human design. January or February of 2021, I started reading the definitive book, and it all just like, it was like reading information that I already knew. As I was reading the words, it was like,
wow.
I know this. It was that moment where I was like, this is what I've been waiting for my whole life.
Yeah.
And then within 2 months, Ronnie, Ellen, Sarah Andrews, Iman, our friends in Austin, Texas, they all started coming into my life. And Sarah Andrews already had a background in human design, and Iman had been studying the gene keys in human design for a while. And so we started just like meeting for tea and like talking about human design, talking about the gene keys. I taught Ronnie and Ellen human design like in a month. They just got it, right? Again, like we didn't have to learn it.
Yeah.
We didn't have to learn it. It all just came through being connected to the fractal. And then it was like, we all just kind of like clicked into place, and we were living the synarchy. You know, we still are. We've had those experiences. We can claim those Siddhic experiences. And then, you know, you get pulled back into life and like whatever. But like, I don't know. I think that's why I feel so passionate about gathering community together, because it's like, that's really all that we have to do.
Yeah.
We just have to gather the community together. You just have to gather the right group of people together, right? Your fractal. And then it all just happens.
Yeah.
There's nothing to do. There's nothing to learn. Then we're just being with each other. And the really cool thing that I got to experience through like living with these people was just like I was seeing who I was through the reflection of the other.
Yeah.
And the line between me and them started to really blur. This is Gene Key 13, right? The city of 13 is empathy.
Mm-hmm.
It's feeling that person as you
Yeah.
because they are you.
Yes. Which is different. I just had this conversation with somebody the other day. This is wild, the way that the fractal consciousness is working, which is sympathy and empathy are very, very different experiences. Sympathy, you can rationalize and say, oh, like that sucks. Like that's a hard thing. Empathy is literally being in an experience with somebody, not having to change it for them, but literally feeling it and holding it. And so I think that also really speaks to this kind of this vessel that we're experiencing inside of Aquarius, how much it is about holding and bearing the weight of humanity alongside of one another. And this, when I started learning about gate 13, because it's my moon placement, 13.4, the gate of the listener, like I got that with my mental mind, right? Like I was like, oh, okay, so like I'm supposed to like listen a little bit better. Like I get that. Like I'm kind of like Discord, like the shadow like made a lot of sense to me, but I was like, what do I do with that? And when did Fox come in? Was that earlier last fall?
I think it was in September.
Yeah. Somebody
No,
told us about
August. Yeah,
It's
August.
like somebody connected us with somebody who connected us with a fox or something. Like somebody got a session with her,
Oh
recommended
no,
her to you.
somebody who Allison Forseth in the human design community,
Oh,
who I don't even chat with like very frequently. She was like,
yeah.
I just had this reading and I don't know why, but I feel like I'm supposed to tell you about it. And so then I went and booked a reading, and then Cody went and booked a reading, Luna went and booked a reading. Cody told like everybody.
I know like probably 4 or 5 of like family and close friends, including you and Luna. Well, no, excluding you and Luna. People that I referred her to. And she literally, one of the days, I had another session with her. And she was like, I just got off of 2 back-to-back calls with like people that you referred me to. And I was like, you're welcome. I love this work. So Fox, her, for anybody listening, her Instagram is at the Fox Lantern, and she does soul animal sessions is what she calls them. And basically she is able to like tap into your energetic frequency and gift you with the shape and texture and type of soul animal that you are, which is different from a spirit animal. I'm a spirit animal to Sarah. Sarah's a spirit animal to me, but I have a soul emanation that is my own animal. And so I'm the fennec fox, which is all about listening. It's this cute little tiny thing that has these big old ears, and it exists in the desert and is extremely discerning and extremely attuned to its external environment. And that's like when I understood the gate of the listener. That's when I understood 13, because I understood that it wasn't about hearing things or like being a really good listener to people please somebody, because I was a people pleaser. And so I was like, let me sit here and remember really specific things about you so that when I can regurgitate them back to you, you'll think I'm a really great friend. No. Listening is not even about words. Often I'm really deaf to what people are actually like. This.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. Like I can't remember shit, but I experience an essence. It's like I'm attuning to another. Yeah, it's like another field or something.
Well, that's what Richard says in Gene Key 13. It's not about listening to words. You're listening to frequency. You're listening to the soul. The G center is the seat of the soul. 13 is located in the G center. So that's what you're listening for.
Mm-hmm.
You're listening to what's being said beyond the words,
Mm.
right? Because that's where the truth lies, right? And so much about 13 is about truth and secrets. Why do we keep secrets? Because we don't want to tell the truth.
I often have an experience. I know this about myself now. And I can see, like, for example, I have a friend in like my everyday mundane life. And she was having a really rough week. And we saw each other at a birthday party. We see each other kind of in passing at like preschool drop off and stuff like that. And she was having a really hard week. And I could tell, like, she was staying away from me, from my energetic field. She was staying away and I was eyeballing her. And she kind of went, like, shook her head a little. And I said, okay. Like, I just nodded at her. And we kind of avoided each other for a little bit. Because that was like, I knew it was like space. Because you know that when I get next to you, that truth is going to be pulled forward. And you're not ready for it. And this has happened so much in my life to the point that I'm like, why are people avoiding me? Like, like, do I smell? Like, what is the problem? And because I'm starting to understand the gate of the listener, I'm like, oh, it's like they know that I'm going to pick up on what's going on underneath it all. Yeah. And I saw that friend later in that event, and she was literally like, I looked at her and I barely opened my mouth, and she was like, tears were in her eyes, and she's like, Cody, please no. It's like, okay. And I said, oh, it's okay. Like, we don't have to talk about it. I'm here. And then I just like left her alone. Aww. But it is like it's not about the words, and it is very, it's very attuned that way.
And that's an example of empathy, right? You were feeling what she was feeling.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I totally relate to that as well. Friends avoiding me.
And I feel like, especially with it in the Saturn placement too, because maybe we were talking about this the other day, me and you. Do you feel like this is that kind of just that we were talking about this exact thing?
I think it's a combination of 13 and 39.
Okay, yeah. Because you're gonna like also kind of
because
maybe poke
the
it a little bit.
39 is like, it's like a mechanical thing. Well, they're both mechanical things, right? But the 39 is poking the solar plexus.
Yes.
And then the 13 is like forcing the expression out of the throat, right? It's like that like word vomiting of the secrets when you like
it's
are like no, I'm not gonna spill the beans, and then it just all comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the combination of those two, people don't stand a chance.
Yeah, they don't. But you're in, because I mean, and we were talking about it the other day. You're like, no, people know. When they come, people avoid me. So now I'm making that connection, because that 39 also puts that 39 is pretty visceral, because 13, I think 13's a little bit, there's like a softer edge to it. Like there's a softer quality to it. Not that that's good, bad, or wrong. I'm just, I guess like I'm saying this for anybody who might be listening that with a 13 or without, or possibly even a 33, to kind of identify. But it is more subtle and energetic and underneath. And that 39, I like how you said that. It's like probing.
Well, think about it. It's in the root, right? So that's energy, what we've been talking about the last 3 episodes, right? That is pure life force energy fueling that provocation. Yeah. So I totally resonate with what you said about the like visceral nature of it. Yeah. Also, I know that when Ra talks about 39, he gives the example of like, these are kids on the playground where like people, like the kids just like don't want to play with them, and they don't even know why. Yeah. But it's because of that.
My little tension babies. This makes
your little tension babies. Because they're out there provoking the truth. Right?
People run.
Yeah.
Like I watch and they're friendly kids, and so this is like messed up to say, but like luckily there's enough homogenized children that parents are like, go play with them, you know? But like I do see this energetic thing where people will make space around the girls because they are so like provocative with their body and their energy. Like they come into a space and make themselves known. They can't help it. It's not like they're even being loud, but that just connected that dot for me.
Yeah.
Because I've always kind of in my head been like, what? Come on, stay,
Yeah,
friends.
it's the 39.
Wow. Wow. Okay, I want to pick up a little bit on this. So like what were some of your first thoughts of like gate 13?
I think what I really wanted to get into was the secrets.
Yes.
And like, why do we keep secrets? What is the purpose of secrets? And that leading us into a conversation around, from a more collective perspective at this point in time, so many secrets are coming to the surface right now, right? The light is shining on the darkness. So we're able to see what was previously hidden from view, what was previously unconscious, subconscious. And that this process of shining a light into these dark corners of the collective psyche is part of this truth and reconciliation process that I know you and I believe is a critical part of alchemizing the pain and suffering of what has occurred on this planet up until this moment in time to move into this new world, new earth, whatever you want to call it, new timeline, and not bring that like karmic baggage with us. And then the last thing I'll say to just like throw a few things at you. I know that like we've talked a lot about we're rewriting the past.
Yeah.
It's not about like healing our past. It's about rewriting the past. Okay, tossing the ball to you.
Oh my gosh, there's so much there. Okay, the first thing that I was thinking of is at the core of all secrets lies discord. That is discord at its finest, right? It's a secret. And I'm thinking about how that the G center is literally the thing that is like pulling us along our trajectory in life from point A to point B, from incarnating to excarnating. And so when we have this level of discord in secrets, right? Secrets, lies, circumstances, relationships, experiences, like you mentioned, like the past. When that's all sitting in this like G center part of us, this soul emanating part of us, it's that frequency is the thing that is creating our reality around us. And so when there's discord, it's interrupting that signal that is pulling life towards us and us towards life. That discord is interrupting, it's interfering the frequency of the higher timeline.
Oh my God, this is so good.
Oh my God.
This is so good. And that's when we feel lost.
Yes.
Right?
G center, right.
Because
that's when we're disoriented.
We're lost, we're disoriented, we don't know who we are. We don't know why we're here because there is distortion around our inner compass. Our inner compass always knows who we are and why we're here, who we are at a soul level. I mean, not at the ego mind level. We all know these things. It's just about remembering. It's not about you're never going to find who you are and why you're here outside of you. It's always going to be in here.
Yes.
The real work is to remove the layers of distortion, which is really just removing layers of forgetting, which is the shadow of 33, which completes the 1333 channel.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. I have so much. There's so many different ways. I feel like this is such a beautiful exploration. It's, where do I want to go with that? What was the thing that I was just thinking about just now? What I want to actually, maybe I'll just ask you a question to see where this might take us. But there's something that you were saying there with the forgetting. And there's a sort of addiction to there's like an addiction to forgetting or to being in discord that, like, why do we do that as humans? What is that saving us from, right? So
because we like to be victims.
Right. So
it's the victim programming.
So that's what I'm thinking here too, inside of the, like, we're talking about the G center, we're talking about Aquarius, we're talking about the 13 specifically. But the thing that I really want to say that I want to be careful about how I say it is that if we are accepting discord, right? If we can't get to that level of discernment of like, I'm having a hard time finding the word because the G center is so, it's a black hole. Like it's like, it's, it's so ethereal. It's like, it's hard to touch or like contextualize really because it's so like our reality is created from this frequency that we're emitting from our G center, whether it's defined or not, whether it's defined in your chart or not, you still have a G center and that thing is still pulling you along your trajectory. And the thing that has come up for me a lot is like, what do I want to continue to allow looping in my life? What experiences am I willing to learn from, confront, face, look at, and discern from?
Yeah.
And from that, I like can say, not mine, not mine, not mine. And then there's...
Okay.
Yeah.
So in the shadow of discord comes from, we get locked in the shadow frequency of discord when we don't learn from past experiences.
Yes. Yeah.
So when we do not listen to the lesson that we just walked through, that's what keeps us stuck in the cycle. That's what keeps us stuck in the loop.
Yes. So I think the thing I'm trying to understand right now is the G center attached to our karma? Like, is it attached to
No, there's something you're tapping into about the G center that I'm like, oh my God, I want to go into that because I never really thought of the idea that like the G center is where our reality is emanating from.
Yeah.
It's so like, is that how you just described it?
So,
or our reality is created from that. Yeah. Go on that.
So, the way that I picture this in my mind is like, it's like the cell phone tower. So we have our own frequency. And when we tap into that, we're broadcasting and we're magnetizing reality to us. And then what is hard to really get around is like, are we happening to reality or is reality happening to us, right? And I think you can really look at it from both ways. And I think this is the differentiation of like the loop that's playing in your life. Am I the victim of life? Is life happening to me? where
Mhm.
I don't get a say? Or am I discerning enough to reprogram and like literally orient my, it's not even orient, it's like magnetize the reality that I
Pull into
want
your
to,
field.
yeah,
You're
to pull into
calling
my,
it, you're calling in that reality.
and there's something here though that is like a disconnection between the mind, right? I think this conversation is happening at large here where we can see in spiritual spaces how this like mindy manifestation conversation of like, hey girl, just like believe in it, like it's gonna come for you, like that you can just like positive think your way out of like shitty circumstances in
I've
life.
tried it.
It
Doesn't work.
it doesn't work. And so it really, I think what I'm having a hard time describing is that the G center is so much a product of the processes that happen in all the other 9 centers that
Everything is pushing towards the G center, right?
everything is pushing.
Everything in the chart, from the root to the head, it's all pushing towards the G center.
Yes. Yeah. And so because of that, this isn't like a conversation of action. It's more just a, like there can't really be a conversation of like, okay, how do we be in 13? Like learning from 13 just happened in my life when I got outside of the mental idea of what listening meant. And when I allowed the frequency, when I allowed myself, it's like you have to literally close your eyes to tap into the G center intelligence, to allow that to be qualitative or contextual to your experimentation process.
Should we do it?
Yeah.
Should we just drop in? We'll see what we'll
Yeah,
see.
let's do it.
We'll see if words
Let's do it.
come. Yeah, I need that. So inviting everybody listening, if it's available to you, to close your eyes. Just bring your awareness into your body. Calling all of your energy back to your vessel and throwing down a grounding cord to the center of the earth. And we'll invite the frequency of 13 into the space. I felt it right in the heart. It came through like a wave, like it felt really joyful.
Very joyful.
Really optimistic. Like really like, yeah.
Yeah. That it felt like a snap for me, like a string through time and space, like a connection. It was like I was seeing like my thread in the tapestry, like a thread coming from me. Yeah. And I feel like this is so nerdy, but it did feel like I was starting to kind of experience the 13 as a collective orientation. Like I felt that kind of outward opening of like my heart space. It was like a bearing of my chest, sort of, if that makes sense.
Sharing the secrets.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's why, I mean, I look at like my life as a child, and I can't say that. I think secrets are just so prevalent. I think there's so many secrets that like we're not even aware of, if that makes sense. Because yes, there's like the obvious big secrets of like drama that happen in family units, but I think that there's something here that is so much about karma, about
Mm.
something that is attached to another lifetime, a discord of an interference. That word interference keeps coming in,
Mm-hmm.
where it
Shadow of
keeps us
44.
where it keeps us on this like
Karmic relationships.
yeah.
Yes.
And really feeling that ring of purification, the 13 and the 30, which we were tapping on, that this is like the beginning initiation of the seven sacred seals. I don't know much about that process, but to me that is really accepting the initiation of living a soul-led life.
Wow. That's kind of blowing my mind. Because it really is the beginning of your initiation into yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
Is facing all of the secrets that you've been holding from yourself.
Yes.
That's what this is really about. It's not even about the secrets with other people. It's about what secrets are you keeping with yourself?
Wow. Oh my God, in this like self-sacrificial sort of way. So I'm going to create discord in my life to distract me from the lies I've told myself.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I'm going to get in this mess over here, this person's secret, this person's story, because it's collective, right? So it is very externally
Mm-hmm.
driven. So let me like look over here. Let me remember for you. And then I don't have
Mm-hmm.
to listen to myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's about literally listening to
Hey,
yourself.
can you back off a little? Leave me alone for one
Not gonna lie.
goddamn day.
Not gonna lie. I was reading 13 earlier and I was like, oh, yep.
You're like, she needs this one.
Yeah, and the
She needs
fox
this one.
thing, oh my god, it all just made lots,
It made a lot of sense.
right? But I don't know, there's something about this, like, coming back to one of my sayings, which is like, do you want to do it the easy way or do you want to do it the hard way?
Yeah.
You have free will to choose to keep learning the same lessons over and over and over and over again.
Yep.
Do you want to be stuck on that wheel or do you want to get on with living life, with being yourself, with feeling fully fucking alive?
And I mean, this is also very Aquarian, right? So this is so much about world building, dreams, desires for a new future. It's what do I want to call in? Do I want to keep looping this, or do I want to bring that that into my reality? Do I want to remove the discord, the lies, the ways that I'm not empathetic to myself,
Mm-hmm.
the ways that I ignore my own calling, my own direction, my own purpose
Mm-hmm.
for other people, right? For other people.
Yep.
That people pleasing at Did you see the balloons? It just like released a bunch of balloons. Um, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Something I want to bring into the conversation is this like, so 13 is more like looking at the past, whereas 7, which is the
Yes.
programming partner for
Right.
13, it is opposite 13 in the wheel. 7 is a Leo gate, is looking towards the future. And so going back to this idea of like the way that we get to the future that we desire is by rewriting the past.
Which is something that we've been circulating quite a bit.
We've been circulating around this a lot because it's coming more and more like into the field that more and more people are like, stop rehashing your trauma. Stop looping around your trauma. It's not helping.
Yeah.
You're re-traumatizing yourself.
Yep.
Walk through the door out of that timeline.
Right.
Otherwise, you keep giving energy to that timeline and creating a karmic loop with it.
Yeah.
And the shadow of 7 is division. And so there's something about that where it's like when that I wanted to loop back to 13 and like these secrets that we keep from ourselves. That's how we separate ourselves, how we divide ourselves from other people. Whereas when we're truthful and we just tell the truth about who we are, that's how we create intimacy. That's how we create unity with one another, right? That's how we come together around the truth. The truth brings people together.
Yes.
Lies separate people.
Yeah.
Lies divide people.
Well, here's the thing. Like we felt the heart in this, right? So there really is something to me in the human design conversation as 9-centered human beings. The heart and the G center feel really closely. It's like they should be centered next to one another, right? Like the G center is the frequency, but the heart is the way we exchange that frequency in the world. And so when the ego becomes corrupt, so does the frequency that we're able to emit. And so it's really easy to get almost like to tell this lie to yourself of like oh well that like whatever the lie is, so that you can get what you want. Because sometimes when you're telling the truth, it's not always what your mind really wants, right? Your mind can be like having a story for, oh, I'm going to manifest the perfect this and the perfect that, and it's going to look like this, and I'm going to have Gucci sunglasses tomorrow. And like when it doesn't turn out looking that way, the lie feels a little bit better because then my ego can maybe get what it wants and exchange that with the world.
Yep. And this loops back to the shadow of 30, desire.
Yes.
Right? And so those two
yes
are what keep us stuck in the loop, stuck in the cycle.
Yes.
Damn.
So the secrets really here are distraction. The secrets are a distraction. So
and an avoidance. It's just like an avoidance of truth, right? Yeah. It's so interesting because there really is this dialogue between the 13 and the solar plexus with that 30. Yeah. Where it's like the 30, right, in that shadow expression, it's avoiding the deeper truth. It wants to stay distracted with the kind of like surface level desire. I don't mean like soul desire, but the way that Richard talks about the 30th shadow is more from that. And I lost my train of thought with that. I have a question that keeps coming up for you, though, unless you have something to say on that. So your 13 is in your personality moon. Do you feel like the moon placement is more important for reflectors than the sun?
No.
No.
Mm-mm. No, I think it's a pretty major misnomer of the human design system. The moon helps us like track our cyclicality. Like I am a very seasonal, cyclical being. And guess what that means? So is everybody else on this fucking planet. That's actually all that, like, I'm not differentiated in that. I'm not, like, not just 1% of the population is meant to be cyclical. All I've learned, like, it's really not that special to be a reflector. It's just like, I'm emanating a truth that is just true for everybody. It's like, it's, it's really unimportant, but also very important in it, in the sense that, like, obviously we live in a time where we need an external, like a human mirror. We've always had human mirrors, like that's just always been a thing. Um but we get to see these like little blips on the radar of that like amplified expression of humanity. We're just seeing an amplified expression of humanity at its most chaotic.
I love
Perhaps
it.
like, and it is, it's kind of like talking to that loop, right? We can see that in a really distressed,
Mm,
victimized, controlled setting. Like that loop is just playing. They like really, you can you can see that that's out there. Or the reflector that like comes into contact with their cyclicality and just like who they are, their sense of self is really like showing how we all just break out of that, right? Like
mm,
in very distinct different ways.
mm-hmm.
That's just a mirror of like it's a lock and it's a key. These
Yeah.
cycles that we loop ourselves into. Um,
Thanks
what
for
was the
clearing that
original
up for us.
question?
I can't wait
Uh,
to get deeper into these type conversations in heavenly bodies.
yes. I feel like yeah, to understand the sun that you are, the light that you are, especially in Aquarius season, to remember like the lowest point of sun in our northern hemisphere, that you're still a light in the middle of darkness, I think is like, and I love what I'm seeing out there as far as like expressions on the internet. Like people really are tuning into that right
Yeah.
now. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Like like the people, you can just really see like, oh, we're all here. We're ready.
Yeah. And I think those of us who, 2020 was a major awakening point for so many. And so
Yeah.
now we're 5 years past that, and people who've kind of like been on the outskirts watching and learning and, still kind of living their regular life. Everybody's kind of seeing the writing on the wall now and like, all right, it's time to get to work.
Yeah.
2027 is around the corner. And yeah, I mean, everything that's happening on the world stage, like it's all up in flames.
Yeah.
And we're seeing these truths come to light. I think this year in particular is going to be another huge awakening for people, kind of similar to 2020, and that there's going to be so much darkness and so many secrets kind of like revealed around
Yeah.
they some people call them like the powers that want to be, the powers that were. We're not affirming their existence, so
Yeah.
um
What powers?
but just so, yeah, exactly, what powers? Not in my reality. Y'all already did. We already rewrote that.
We're already done with that past.
Yeah. Yeah, and so as the drama continues to unfold on kind of the the more collective stage, for me, I'm using these two mantras as like my anchoring. Although I'm honestly not affected by these things anymore. Like it's just all so hilarious to me. It's so obviously this like orchestrated drama. It's literally a play. It's a drama, it's a movie. You should be laughing.
Yeah.
Not, and that's not to like discount the horrible things, you know, that are happening and people are dying and all of that, but like I don't know, I think the only way to maintain sanity at this period in this moment is to really zoom out. And actually this is bringing us back to 13 too, because I think that really is what 13 is about. It's like
This is all 13.
yeah, zooming out of the ways that we're emotionally manipulated, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
To stay in the loop. That's what they do, right? They manipulate us through our emotions. So we stay locked in this victim pessimism discord, shadow of 13.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the shadow of 13 is this like feeling that things are never going to get better, that there's no hope. It's very pessimistic. It's very like almost like nihilistic in a sense.
Yeah. And that, and like if they can get you to believe that with your entire body, that's the frequency that you're putting off. And so that's reinforcing and also giving that energy to that storyline. So that is the way that these energies are harvested for that reality to be sustained. And I know, like, I feel like it can sound really dramatic, or also like perhaps we don't even care, like, to even, like, there is devastation across this planet right now, and we
Mm-hmm.
are not making light of that. But just to the point that you were saying about the joy and the cosmic joke of it all, it that is the disconnecting of that cord that is
Yes.
sucking our
Ooh.
life force from us. When
Yes.
we stop living in that and we pull our energy back, we get discerning and we go, wait, what's this frequency here now? Where am I? What am I attracting? We can do it. The G Center is so cool because it's right here, right now. And you are kidding yourself if you don't think you can feel your own frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? Feeling numbness is you feeling your frequency, because some of us are going to come into this experience feeling numb and dissociated and disconnected because that's what they want. And if you don't want to be there anymore, you have to start there. That's ground zero. You have to feel the numbness until the pain body comes forward, until those tears drip down your face, until you start to realize how traumatized you've been by having to run on this fucking hamster wheel. And so when you get to a place like what we're describing here, that is real. We are on a different timeline. We're not existing there because that I am not available for that reality anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I see that it's happening. I see that the devastation is real. I'm not running away from the life that is happening. It just means that I'm not available for that to be harvested from me. I'm not participating. And I think 13 helps us remember that. I think 13 helps us like have empathy. There's like a paradox inside of the gene keys too
Mm-hmm.
that we can see, is like in transcending discord, there almost has to be an empathy to get to discernment, right? So we have to flip those things on their head a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is you have to actually just get empathetic with yourself.
Ooh.
You turn it all inward. So I feel like I just went on a whole
Amen.
fucking
That's it.
rampage there. But like, Yeah.
Beautiful.
Um,
No, really,
do you have
that's
any?
it.
That was it. Yeah. No,
That's
that was it. That was it.
like,
I feel like there
that
was
was
one other.
fucking powerful.
Thank you. Everything, I mean, everything you were saying too.
I'm
Yeah, like you
loving
got me
having
all
these
revved up.
conversations with you.
This is so fun.
This is so fun. This is how we're spending our Friday night. It's 10 p.m.
I know. We're partying.
Ideal Friday night, honestly.
I'm like drinking a little Tulsi and oat straw.
I love that.
No, this is the timeline we want to be experiencing,
Yes.
right? This is what I'm
Yes.
magnetizing into my life. There was one other thing that I wanted to speak to. What was that?
Please.
It must not be important if it's not coming up, but I think I was just gonna say how much, like, even for people who might be listening, that are being pulled into these energies and these ideas and looking at 13 within perhaps your own design, or if you have a 33, this is something that's hanging in your chart. Oh gosh, it just left my mind. Hold on. Oh, here it is. The conversation that we were us dropping into this frequency, I feel like even when the conversation started taking, like, gets wider, I still really hear 13. And so I would encourage anybody listening to consider, even in the words that are seemingly disconnected from the gate of the listener, like these very like textbook type ways that we look at gate 13, I would encourage you to consider bridge 13, to consider fractal consciousness, to consider the G center in a new way, so that you can hear the qualities of 13 that are just kind of naturally being brought up through us right now. Because, like, I was just even having that mental thing, like, oh my gosh, like, am I talking enough about gate 13? Like, am I doing it? And then I realized, oh wait, the conversation that we were having was very just 13. Like, it was just very...
Well, and this is the thing that we're doing in Heavenly Bodies, right? Ra told us very clearly that he was a mechanic. He was here to look at parts. He wanted to take the thing apart, right? He's a first line. He wanted to take everything apart and see these individual pieces. And that's all great. That was Ra's trip. That was Ra's dharma. What we desire to do is actually reweave these pieces back together to see that they're all one, and to understand the relationships between them. That's why we're calling these bridges, right? And so all 64 gates, hexagrams, bridges, gene keys, they all relate to one another in some way or another.
Yes.
Whether, it's a programming partner or whatever, blah, 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 it doesn't matter. It's all part of a whole. It's just like we're just understanding, we're trying to understand the whole by understanding these different flavors of the whole.
Yes.
So we can have a more complete experience of the whole. That's all that this is about. So I love the way that these conversations are going, and that, like, because also, like, after we recorded 41, I was like, oh my God, there's like so many other things on 41 that I want to talk about. Well, when it's time for those things to come up, they're going to come up, and we're going to talk about it.
I was just about to say this. There's so many, like, thoughts and notes. Like, we didn't even talk about the I Ching. We didn't, like...
I know. I'm having,
we could talk about
every time we finish one, I'm like, wait, but this part.
Yes, there's so much more to explore. Like, we could talk about 12 and we could talk about 14 because they're on either side. We can talk about how codependence is obviously, like, coming off of gate 9, bridge 19. That's so much a part of this transition into this energy of 13, is from the shadow of codependence into into discord. and seeing how that like the codependence brings the discord, right? And so like there's so many relationships, and I think that's what we're both trying to say here is if you're listening, it's like, oh, what does this mean? The conversation is enjoyable. Enjoy it. And whatever comes to your mind, go follow that thread. If there's one thing that keeps coming into your brain that gets sparked by this conversation, it has nothing to fucking do with 13. Follow that thread. This is okay. Here it is. It's emerging. Here's the one last thing that I wanted to say. And it was about this kind of tangent that I went on about the level of reality that we want to experience. And what I want to remind anybody listening to this podcast is that if you are hearing this is you're connected to this consciousness. You're receiving an invitation. This level of remembering is available for you right now in this very moment, or else you wouldn't be hearing these words. You wouldn't be hearing this conversation. And you are ready and you are prepared, or else you would not even, this wouldn't be on your radar. And so I want you to consider that. The immensity of every being, every living being that comes into your life and the role that they play in your awakening, and that everything that you're experiencing in your reality is for you. That's it. That's it. I just wanted to end on that reminder. That's it.
Beautiful. Wow. We're really good at this.
We are really good. We're so good at this.
Oh, I love
it. I love it so much.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Cosmic Communion. If you'd like to dive deeper into these energetics with Cody and Sarah, we invite you to join us inside Heavenly Bodies, a space for cosmic synthesis where we weave together our embodied experience of human design, the gene keys, astrology, and so much more. If you're interested in diving deeper into your human design chart, or maybe you're just now coming into human design and ready to receive personalized guidance and insight into your unique frequency, I'm currently offering one-on-one human design readings. You can go ahead and find the link in the show notes to book a session. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Cosmic Communion. We will commune with you next week.